When I think of my Nintendo experience, I think of some of the controllers that I used along the way. I, being someone who never owned an NES, my first controller that I ever used, aside from a Game Boy of course, was the Super Nintendo controller. The 4 buttons and the 2 shoulder buttons were huge. It's like, oh, cool, you know? But it was something I got used to. When I ran with Mario and Super Mario World, I'd hold down the Y button for speed and stuff like that, and you just get used to the feel. For me, this was always something that I loved. That's just the whole feel there. This guy never was something I owned. In fact, the only person on the block that had one, I wasn't allowed to play with them because they were kind of a questionable youth. But this icon for us wasn't the only one. After the Super Nintendo came the N64 with the introduction of a joystick. Wild. The D-pad was off to the side, something we had used to but didn't need anymore because the whole nature of a thumbstick was just crazy. The A and B buttons, the additional C buttons, L and R, and a Z button now. We had all these different inputs to use and had to figure out how we were going to navigate this space. Well, that was all good and fun while we were getting used to it, but then there was the Gamecube controller. And the Gamecube controller, I feel like, is one of, if not the most iconic controllers out there. It has the most interesting layout for ABXY. It has a C stick that is notched or hexagonal, octagonal, I don't know. I think it's 8, so octagonal. And it has also a D-pad. Everything seems all off in different spaces, and honestly, it resembles that of, at the time, an Xbox controller. If we were to look just at an Xbox controller here, we see that very similar design. We see a asymmetrical situation with the thumbsticks, we see an ABXY situation, and we also have 2 shoulder buttons, or buttons and triggers, however you want to put it. This was quite a special controller. We could start doing dual stick types of situations and dual stick gaming. We could move a camera around while we also are moving our character around. And so for Nintendo gamers, the GameCube controller was a pretty big deal. For Super Smash Bros. Gamers, the GameCube controller was a massive deal. And for me, in 2024, the GameCube controller has always been a little bit of a mystery. What was it so special about this controller? You see, I didn't play GameCube games when they first released because I didn't have one right away. I didn't get one until much later. I was playing PlayStation 2 games. And that was something that was special to me, but GameCube I missed the boat. I'd already experienced the dual thumbsticks in an asymmetrical fashion on my DualShock 2, I suppose, on the PlayStation 2, and so I was set. This is the Hori GameCube controller, and that's not what we're talking about today. GameCube seems to be having a little bit of a moment right now here on the Nintendo Switch, especially with something like Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door. People are playing through GameCube games. We're playing through Metroid games, hoping to see a Metroid Prime release or something like that. GameCube has always had this deep-rooted affinity, I would suppose, with a lot of Nintendo gamers because some very huge games came out on GameCube. And so today I want to go over the GameCube style accessories or GameCube style controllers that I like. Now, I've used the only ones that I believe to be worth their salt. The Hori, which is a partnered, as you can see, the Zelda theme. This is a, not partnered, but I don't know what you call it, approved by Nintendo controller, okay? Great. This, I believe, yes, this can wake up your Switch. Now, for me, this is original purchase. I believe I bought this back in like 2020 or something. It's a great controller, but I wanted something a little bit better. And first, I just had no reason to use that. I used it with Smash a little bit, but I was never a big Smash player, so that controller never really spoke to me. I have used Doyoki's split what a joystick, or not joystick, Joy-Con style controller. It's all right. Wasn't the best. It was cool. And then I've also used the Retro Flag dock, which you take your, oh, see, it wants to use it. You take your Nintendo Switch and you remove it from the Joy-Cons and put it into this docking system, which I have upstairs, but it's not worth looking at because I don't like any of those systems. 3, we're going green today. Heck yeah. So today we're going to be working through, which is a surprise to me, 2 products by a brand called Nixie. They made originally what we are used to seeing, this, the Nixie Wizard. This is a Joy-Con style controller. Now, it is combined right now to make a, what's really, really close to a Gamecube controller. There are a few features of this that I really, really enjoy. One is these individually are powered. Now, it's gross and chonky here, and I never liked that, but we're gonna look past that. This is powered. This actually by itself turns on. It's its own thing. Why would you have this like that? I don't know, but it is what it is. This is a special, you can purchase this as a selection, center beam. The center usually is just a piece of plastic with nothing there, but this is the USB-C one, so if you want, you can actually put these on here like so. Now it's a controller and you can charge it rather than having to charge them individually or on the Nintendo Switch itself. It has what you see in a lot of these controllers nowadays, a programmable turbo button as well as some back buttons, which I will admit are in kind of a weird spot back here. Your fingers don't naturally want to be on this. In fact, when you're holding the controller, they're just below this click, so it's not really one that you'll end up using fully, but I'll be honest, I don't use back buttons when I'm playing games like Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door or Metroid Prime Remaster. I will say though that for Nintendo specifically, this button layout, the ABXY, like this, makes the most sense. When you're playing a Mario game, having the Y above to drop down here is nice, and the C-stick having these notches feel really great. But that's not all about something like the Nixie Joy-Cons, right? What's the feature here that really is nice is you can swap these out. It looks like I actually put this on upside down, so this is a perfect time for me to do this. You just twist this off to the side, remove this, comes right off, and you can switch this out for a different type of thumbstick. Now these are Hall effects, whatever you want to call them, and I can have matched thumbsticks here if I'd like. I do like having the C-stick to be smaller, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back on, and you can go from the hexagonal or octagonal, however that's called, I think it's octagonal, kind of, I guess, guard to a smooth one if you would like, and you would just slot that in there. But I don't want to go to a smooth one. I like the hexagonal one, and so that goes in there, and then you just slide this over like so, lock it in place, and now it is good to go. Now, if I was to show you what this looks like on my Nintendo Switch, it looks a little bit ridiculous, but who cares? Who cares? I think it looks cool. Ridiculous and cool. So the release button's here. We're gonna go ahead and slide that out. And this is definitely unruly. It doesn't allow you, because this is so fat, and these controllers come down, you can't really dock this not dock it, you can't really stand it up on your tabletop, so that's going to be tough, but you have yourself your controller like so. It is very comfortable, and if I want to turn on my Switch, we're in the game, and I'm playing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door with this. Now what's cool is these buttons do light up, and you have a really awesome experience here, but maybe for you, this is too much, which, I mean, it really is when you're looking at it. And also, you can get a couple extra things with this if you order it. You also can get these. So this right here is a pack of all of the different thumbstick things, extra ones. So you can do that. You can actually, if you would like, you can move. I think this is an extra. Yeah, you get extras here, and you have all the different things in between. C-stick, small. You can go double yellow, you can go double gray if you would like. It's however you want. And then this is what usually ships with it, which is going to be, this is all these little rings. Nothing here. It's just a little piece of plastic versus the one that has a USB-C thing in there. I would opt for the USB-C one because of convenience, but that's really up to you how you want to go about it. Now, for you, maybe this is just a little too ridiculous, which I would agree. It is a little too ridiculous, though they do have, I don't need this because I'm set. They do have a case specifically for this, and it's nice enough, I suppose, if you want a big, huge, giant case. But they do have a case that has a ton, 24 card slots. You just put this right in here like so, fold, fold. This is however you want, and it is packed away in a nice case. There's a little bit of shake, not too much, and up here you can easily store your standard Joy-Cons. Even the charging, the charging I would just put back underneath here, like so. Boom, Joy-Con. Ooh, the Joy-Cons don't like to be up there. Okay, well then if the Joy-Cons don't like to be up there, that's interesting. I don't like that there's pressure on these suckers. So then maybe, just maybe, I can put the Joy-Cons right underneath. Yeah, good. But then you get a rattle, I believe, if I was to... Yeah. It's a case. You're good. You have a case. You're fine. I just don't love the case. But that's not all. That's not all, because this, as ridiculous as it looks, isn't actually the most cool thing. And up until this point, though this is very, very much so a controller, a comfortable controller, I was using that one right there, because it seemed to make the most sense, because I wasn't putting GameCube style Joy-Cons on my Nintendo Switch. Well, they came out. This is the Nixie Wizard. This is the Nixie Warrior. This right here, as you can see, is pretty much the same size as this. Very similar. The Nixie Warrior is absolutely replacing this. This is no longer relevant to me. What's so rad about this right here is a few things. One, feels good. Now, on this, I never told you, listen. Nice little tiny clicks. Very comfortable. Everything feels good. These buttons feel super solid. We're good. My Nintendo Switch is now on. We're going to put this off to the side because this has taken all of those features and has amped them up. Now, a couple things that I think I'm bummed about. One, these buttons are no longer illuminated. They feel really good. These buttons, though, now are... These are normal buttons. This now has the, listen, little clicky clicks. Very good. This, not anymore. The two shoulder buttons, we still have that. The two triggers, not anymore, because now the triggers have two things. They have analog poles, and then they have tiny little, whatever you call this, clicks. And so that is awesome. We have the adjustable triggers on the back. Now, as you can see, there is this bar here that gives you additional buttons to program if you like that. But I personally don't care about those buttons whatsoever. And so what's rad is you just take this off. This comes with it. Everything that you see here comes with it. Place this in, snap it in place like so. And you basically now have smoothed out the back and there's no more additional buttons to press. You're not gonna accidentally hit an input. That is really cool. And then you don't have these anymore. Now, I'm hoping that maybe they make different plates that maybe have an extender to them, whatever it may be, but now I have this all locked in place. This, as well as the other, this has HD rumble, this has Hall sensing, Hall effect, thumbsticks if that's important to you. And it also has this D-pad. Now this disc D-pad, listen, very tactile, very nice. I don't like the way that it feels for 2D side-scrolling games. I feel like the best D-pad that we have is this guy, just a dedicated one. The disc D-pad I don't love, but it still does feel good to use in the applications that you would get for something like a GameCube game. This guy is special for some very, very specific reasons. One, it can be used with a GameCube. If you just don't like how Nintendo handled Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, you can very easily use this with your GameCube or Wii if you just plug this into the device itself. It comes with a little charger there, and then here's the other charger for the controller, and you have yourself a full GameCube situation. These controllers, I think, are incredible. They're a lot of fun to use for sure, and they're a blast from the past. I think with Nintendo specifically, the way that the games play, having A be such a huge button here that is for you to use makes sense. Nintendo always really made its whole thing around the A button, and the B button ended up being canceled, so you're not using it as much. This kind of feel feels so good to me, and I love this layout. This controller's comfortable, and when it compares to the other controllers that I use, I think that for Nintendo, this is really nice. I'm gonna be honest though, as a person who is trying to reduce the amount of gear I have, it's not one that I would run out and purchase because of the necessity of it all. I run a very, very, very lean gaming setup now, just having a Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, as well as some sort of emulation pocketable device. The controller that I'm trying to see if I can use completely by itself, that's it, no other controller, is the 8BitDo Pro 2 controller, which is this guy right here. This is a convenience thing. If I was looking for a GameCube specific controller, this is it. Absolutely. This has completely taken over the GameCube space for me. There's no other controller that I would consider. The Hori one is awesome. I mean, an OG original would be cool too. But when it comes to controllers, it is our way of interacting with our games. And I want something that actually is good and plays well and feels solid. And this does have that feel. It's very comfortable. It's big enough. Someone who is no longer a small-handed individual. I'm not a child anymore, so this is actually a good thing. And if I want to switch out the thumbstick situation and not have the notches, I can easily do that. That is a nice feature. I do appreciate that they have the uniformity between the two controllers, and so if you're used to one, you're going to have a very similar experience on the other. The sizing is about the same. The placement of the back button, this thing is about the same if you end up using it. All of it feels very similar. And so these two are absolutely the go-to for my GameCube style controller outputs. Now, when it comes to GameCube style controllers in general, the necessity isn't really that high, and this is really playing into more of this nostalgia that a lot of us have, which is fine. Totally cool, totally fine. And so, as I said, when it comes to my controller needs, well, if you asked me a year ago, I would love to have every single controller under the sun. I'm finding the necessity for all of these things to be less and less and less. But I can't deny that when I look at the space, the GameCube style controller, the GameCube fandom around this build is a really, really solid one. There's so many controllers that the Switch has, and for me, I think that the Switch has one of the most unique backlogs of accessories available to you that it's really hard to navigate. Anything from $15 cheap Temu level quality controllers all the way up to $80 to $150 premium crazy controllers, and anything in between. It's tough to navigate this space because of the vast amount of controllers and counterfeits. There are a few companies I trust to give my money, one being 8BitDo. I very much so trust 8BitDo, and I would absolutely use and have used and have purchased every controller I use by them. This controller is my purchased one. The purple one is one they gave me. Nixie, I purchased this full price. This I didn't have to purchase, which is nice. And so these guys are the next company I would trust when it comes to gear for my Nintendo Switch. And then Hori and PowerA are two big companies that are partnered with Nintendo, but realistically, when it comes to good, solid builds and properly priced things, I think honestly what you're looking at here, the Nixies and the 8BitDos, these two combos are flawless. And the reason why I put them both out here together is they can't compete with each other. They just simply aren't going to. Nixie really specializes in this GameCube style controller, though they have other controllers out there. This is really what they specialize in. And 8BitDo really hasn't shown any interest in making GameCube style controllers, and I don't think they should. They've mastered this. They've mastered their offerings in other places. So this is what I would look at. I hope this is awesome in some ways, and I'll see you guys sometime this weekend for a live stream. All right, thanks for watching, and as always, happy gaming.